Dr. Hill here at Advanced Animal Care Berea, and today we're going to be talking about everything that you need to know about parasites.
All right, Dr. Hill, how old does my dog need to be to start parasite prevention?
Yeah, so your dog, for most preventions, can be 8 weeks of age. I paused for a minute because I was going to say they can start all preventions at 8 weeks of age, but that's not the case. So every prevention is different. You need to ask your veterinarian for which one you want to use. But for my personal favorite, which is Simparica Trio, they can start this one at 8 weeks of age. I love this product because it does everything in one medication. So they get their heartworm, their intestinal parasite, their flea, and their tick protection for 30 days with one product. Now, some of the other products that we carry here, like Bravecto and ProHeart 6, they need to be 6 months of age before they can start those products. So it does depend, but it can be as young as 8 weeks of age.
Great. My first question is going to be about intestinal parasites. So what are they and how do I get rid of them in my dog?
Yeah, so the most common description that we have for them from owners is that they are seeing worms in their dog's poop. And that's what intestinal parasites are. They come in different varieties. So some are what we consider in the worm family. So we have roundworms, hookworms, tapeworms, whipworms. They all look a little different. So some look like long, pieces of spaghetti. Some look like little grains of rice. And so those are definitely intestinal parasites that we do see. But we also have some other intestinal parasites that are like protozoa. So they're a little bit smaller. We can't see them with the naked eye like Coccidia and Giardia, but we can pick them up on an intestinal parasite exam. And then there's some other intestinal parasites that don't live in the GI tract. They're pretty uncommon though. We don't regularly see them. So the biggest ones that we worry about are those intestinal parasites.
Great. So next is about external. So what are external parasites and what can I do to prevent them?
Yeah, so external parasites, the biggest ones that most owners think of are going to be fleas and ticks. And so the other ones that we run into kind of fall in the mite category. So a lot of times a mite infestation, most owners have heard of mange before. The best thing to do for external parasites is keeping them on a prevention for fleas and ticks. And the really awesome news now is that the newest drug class that we have for flea and tick prevention actually treats mites as well. So it's kind of an all-in-one prevention for those external parasites.
Great. How soon should I bring my dog into the veterinarian if I suspect they may have parasites?
The sooner the better. The reason being is that one flea can lay up to, I think it's 50 eggs per day. And so if you've got a couple of fleas on your pet, that's a lot of egg laying that's going to start happening in your house. And then you can turn into an infestation that way. Ticks, of course, they can carry diseases that they can jump off of your pet and bite you and spread a disease to you, like Lyme's disease. It's not necessarily something that they can, contract from the pet or share from one pet, but the ticks do carry the diseases. So really, if you notice one, getting your pet in sooner is best.
Awesome. So how will my veterinarian diagnose parasites in my dog?
Yeah, so if we're looking for intestinal parasites, a lot of time we'll do an intestinal parasite exam by doing what we call a fecal flotation. So we'll mix their poop sample with a special solution, and then we go through a process where then we look at that sample under the microscope and look for eggs of the parasite under the microscope. Sometimes if some owners visibly see the worms in the poop, that can be really helpful in helping us diagnose those intestinal parasites. And we can usually treat those with an oral dewormer.
Awesome. Is ringworm a parasite?
Ringworm is not a parasite. So ringworm kind of has a misleading name. It's actually a fungal infection. It just happens to make that nice, little ring, red raised ring on the skin, but it's not a true parasite.
So why is early detection and diagnosis of parasites so important?
Yeah, so we can actually see your pets get really sick from an overburden of both internal and external parasites. So sometimes if they have a really, really heavy burden or heavy load of maybe something like hookworms, those guys can actually drain quite a bit of blood and cause anemia of your pet. They can ingest a lot of nutrients, making your pet really thin and unable to absorb the nutrients well for its own body's function, and can make them really sick. We also see, anemia from flea bites because the fleas feed on blood. And so if there's enough of a flea infestation and they're feeding on enough blood, it can cause anemia that way. It can also the fleas can transmit some diseases. And then, like I said earlier, ticks can carry diseases that can be transmitted as well that can make your pet very sick.
All right, thank you.
You're so welcome.